Hi, and welcome to another episode of Starship Gaming. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell if you want notifications of when we make more awesome videos. Now let's jump right into today's topic. So we finally have a price for the Sony PlayStation 5, which is going to be $499, the same price as the Xbox Series X. And the PlayStation 5 is set for a November 12th, 2020 release for the United States, while the Xbox Series X is set for 2 days before November 10th, 2020. So online there's been quite a bit of debate on which you should pre-order, which as of this recording, you can pre-order the PlayStation 5 now, while the Xbox Series X won't be available for pre-order until September 22nd. And on the debate on whether, which one you'd want to buy or which one you should buy, there is a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. And there really isn't a right or wrong answer on which one you should get. It boils down to what kind of way, or I should say the way you game, depends on which one you should get. Now, the one thing that is known for sure on the launch versions of the launch versions of the disc-based consoles, the Xbox Series X and the Sony PlayStation 5, it is known that the Sony PlayStation 5 at launch will have a hard drive that can hold up to 825 gigabytes. And it will have 16 gigabytes of RAM, while the Xbox Series X will have a 1 terabyte hard drive at launch and 16 gigabytes of RAM. So in terms of space, they're pretty close, but the Xbox Series X has the PlayStation 5 beat out just slightly on space, space on the hard drive of how much you can download, or how many games, you can download onto it. Just slightly more space on the Xbox. Of course, the advantage that the Sony PlayStation 5 has is exclusives, which, if you saw the presentation, that's the word I'm looking for. If you saw the presentation yesterday as of this recording, then you saw some of the exclusives, God of War, Final Fantasy, which the Final Fantasy game technically isn't a PlayStation exclusive. From what I've heard, it is getting a PC release too, so that doesn't really necessarily make it exclusive. And some of the other games that they showcased, like Hogwarts Legacy, which is a Harry Potter game, it was shown off, but it isn't a PlayStation 5 exclusive. No, not in the least. It's actually going to be released on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. There's been quite a bit of confusion on that. A lot of people are thinking, I gotta get a PlayStation 5 just to play Hogwarts Legacy. Well, no, you don't. It'll be available for Xbox Series X as well, and I believe PC also. And from what I'm hearing, I don't know how true it is, but there's going to be a PS4 and an Xbox One version as well. I believe, not 100% sure on that, but if things change in development, it may end up like they'll say, we're going to make one for the past two consoles, when in fact they're really not. They're just going to make a the PS5 and the Xbox Series X version. But in all honesty, the presentation that Sony gave for the PlayStation 5 yesterday, I was actually very disappointed. I guess I expected more. I was just kind of disappointed in the PlayStation 5's presentation. And it's like that with the Xbox Series X. I was kind of disappointed in its presentation at first. Mostly because we're not getting a Halo game as a launch title. Of course, these games take time, but I'm not really, not really too concerned about that. I'm willing to wait for any kind of game. But honestly, the PlayStation 5 relies, or I should say, is relying on a lot of their, what's the word I'm looking for? Like licensed characters to kind of wow people. Not really an issue. It's just Spider-Man. We're getting a new Spider-Man game, which we just got one a few years ago. Not really an issue, but I feel like they could have created something original as a launch title instead of reusing the same characters that they've used. There's a few launch titles they have that are original, but I just really expected something to wow me, and it just didn't for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. But if I have to say, or I should say, if I have to pick a console that you should go with this console generation, like I said earlier, it depends on your preferences. If you're wanting power, and you like a better experience overall, I would say probably go with the Xbox Series X, unless you don't mind, not having that much, unless power's not a thing to you, But if you want good exclusives, then I'd say go with the PlayStation 5. And of course, if you don't like either of those, there's other options out there this year. Of course, the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite, both very, very good options if you like, this casual games or games on the go. If mobile games don't tickle your fancy. And of course, there's the other option, which if you can get your hands on one, the Atari VCS, which is a completely digital console. Also, the two that I didn't mention yet. There are digital versions of the Xbox Series X, which is called the Xbox Series S, which is going to run about $299. And then, of course, there's the PS5, the digital-only version, which is going to run $399. The PS3, PS3, what am I thinking about? The PS5 version, the digital-only version, is going to be slightly more powerful than the digital-only Xbox. So if power is your thing, and you buy a digital-only console, then go with the PS5. But if you don't mind power and you just like gaming, and you don't want to spend that extra $100 just, to get a little bit more power out of a digital-only console, then go with the Xbox Series S. Personally, what I plan on getting first is the Xbox Series X. I used to be into PlayStation for years. For many years, actually. I had made PlayStation my main console for years, other than the original Xbox. When the original Xbox came out, I switched to Xbox for several years. Then when 360 rolled around, I wasn't too big into 360. And then I got into PS4, and the thing I started noticing about PS4 is that it, in its early years, the first few years it was out, it had really poor exclusives. I think I don't know what it was. It was near the end of the PS4's lifespan that it actually started getting good exclusive titles. And of course, there's people out there that say, oh, the Xbox One didn't get very many exclusives. What exclusives? They're almost non-existent. Well, here's the thing. If you're buying a console just for the exclusives, unless you plan on buying every single one of those exclusives, just save yourself the time and just don't buy that console. If you just go with your gut feeling. If you're going to buy something just for the exclusives. Like if you're going to buy an Xbox just to play Halo, and you're not going to play any of the other exclusives, it's completely up to you. That's you have the freedom of choice. You don't have to let anybody dictate what you buy. In fact, never let anybody dictate you or tell you or whatever to buy. Kind of a contradiction of what I'm doing here in this video, but I'm just giving you a little bit of insight of what I'm thinking here. But personally, I'm going with the Xbox Series X. The reasoning why is because of backwards compatibility, which, by the way, the PS5 is backwards compatible with PS4 games only. It is not backwards compatible with PS1, PS2, PS3, none of those, not backwards compatible. Only backwards compatible with PS4. The Series X is backwards compatible with Xbox One, select Xbox 360 games, which there's quite a few of them that are backwards compatible that are on 360, and then a small selection of original Xbox games, which that is partially why it helped make my decision, because I can download those games, or I should say, I can play the games, I should say. I can play the games on my Xbox Series X, and I don't have to get rid of them, don't have to sell them, don't have to trade them off just because I don't play that console anymore. And the library just expands bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's something that was really good about the Xbox. I think that was a very, very good thing what they did there. I think PlayStation's biggest mistake was not making the PS4 backwards compatible. I think that was their single biggest mistake. And they learned from that. Of course, to make certain games compatible on newer consoles, it's just like PCs. It takes a lot to make them work properly on newer consoles, which I could see why they did that with the PS4, but it was just, it was a mistake. They should have at least made the PS3 and the PS2 backwards compatible some way. They could have forgot about the PS1, they wouldn't have to do that. But at least the PS2 and PS3, that could have greatly expanded Sony's library and could have kept these games in the loop for several more years. But that's one reason I'm getting the Series X. And another reason is the online gaming experience in general. I just like it better than I do on PlayStation, which, by the way, I have both PS4 and Xbox One. I play them both regularly, and I just like the online experience better with Xbox than I do on PlayStation. That's just how I feel. That's just my personal opinion. I think that's one reason why the Xbox 360 back in its day was so successful, as opposed to PlayStation. Of course, PlayStation, you could play games free online. Xbox, you had to have, Xbox Live, but you get the picture. At least I hope so. But like I said, I'm not really dictating you on which you should get. Like I said, you have the freedom of choice to choose which one you want to buy. And if you want to buy one, of course, PC gamers, they won't want either. I'm a PC gamer myself. I'm also, console gamer. I like all games in general. But I do plan on eventually getting a PS5, but the Xbox Series X will be the very first one that I get. It's just, I already have a bunch of Xbox One games, a bunch of 360 games that are backwards compatible. You know, if I already have it, why, you know, dish out all this money for a console that, you know, that there's not very many games out and it's only backwards compatible with one generation currently. But you know, like I said, you don't have to choose either one of these. You can go with the other options: PC, Nintendo Switch, Atari VCS, eventually the Intellivision Amico. You have all kinds of options. But yeah, like I said, that's just my personal opinion. That's what I plan on getting. You may feel differently. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. You don't have to take it as fact. It's just how I feel. And some of the stuff that I presented, like you know, the what was gigabytes? How many gigabytes or terabytes the hard drives are, and the RAM? Those are, you know, as I said earlier in the video, those are actually 100% fact. That is actually what they will, what their storage is. And of course, Xbox Series X, forgot to mention this earlier, it'll be able to run native 4K resolution. And the PS5 will be able to run 4K resolution. You know, slightly different from native, not much, but not really much of a difference if, you know, screen resolution is your thing. So, yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. So tell me in the comments down below, which one do you plan on getting? Do you plan on buying the PlayStation 5 or the Microsoft Xbox Series X? Or do you plan on going all digital this generation by buying the digital-only PS5 or the digital-only Xbox Series S? Let me know in the comments down below. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to hear more. We're going to be bringing more Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 news as it becomes available, as well as news on Nintendo Switch, Atari VCS, and Intellivision Amico, as well as PC stuff. And don't forget to hit the bell if you want notifications of when we make more awesome videos. And until next time, I will see ya.